Hi, my name is Danielle Boyer, and I'm from Troy, Michigan. I work to bring STEAM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math, to underserved populations, especially Indigenous communities like my own.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra Collins. I am a 16-year-old from the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, and I love to code, I love to sew, and I love to design.
The biggest aspect of my identity, I think, I am a member of the Haida Nation. I live in Canada. I am kind of an advocate for Indigenous and environmental rights. I'm just doing whatever I can to help other youth access justice.
I believe that children deserve access to quality STEAM education and that it plays a really large role in what they're going to do in their future careers and lives. So I think to become an Earth innovator to help improve our world and be able to offer resources for others that we need, kids need skills in things like engineering, coding, stuff like that. And I want to be the person to help bring that to students. But when I was first starting out, I realized that a large problem was actually affordability. A lot of resources that brought kids these important skills were way too expensive, and I didn't know where to begin. So I decided in joining a robotics team to start with a robotics kit named Every Kid Gets a Robot that I invented. ECHR, which stands for Every Kid Gets a Robot, costs less than $20 and goes to kids for free. It's a great way to teach kids electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and computer science in a project-based way. And I actually send it to the kids for free, and it's made out of biodegradable resources. I think this is a good foot in the door to teach kids about skills that they need to know to become innovators of our present and our future.
So, first off, I'm very honored to be a 2020 Brower Youth Awardee, and I was honored for this award with my work with SATO, which stands for Students Against Ethylene Oxide. It was an organization that I started with my sister Catherine around 2 years ago, and I started SATO when I found out that my community had been exposed to this cancer-causing gas called ethylene oxide for a period of around 30 years. And because of this exposure, we ended up having a cancer rate in my neighborhood around 9 times the national average. And that inspired me to take action by creating this group. And through SATO, we fight to harness youth energy in order to fight for a ban on ethylene oxide emissions, which is a Class 1 carcinogen near schools.
I won the Brower Youth Award because I am one of 15 youth plaintiffs suing the Canadian government for their actions regarding climate change. I am working with an organization called Our Children's Trust, which kind of connects youth who are accessing justice with their lawyers, and we are funded and helped with publicity by the David Suzuki Foundation, which is a big foundation here in Canada. If we win our lawsuit, which we hope is the case, then the Canadian government will be mandated by the courts to create and implement a science-based climate action plan. So we are really hopeful for that result, though recently all of our claims were struck by the Canadian government, by the judge. However, we will be appealing the decision to a higher court.
So through SATO and striving to harness this energy, we fulfill different initiatives, and we help do stuff like letter writing campaigns, we lobby, we protest, and we give classroom presentations to teach about the dangers ethylene oxide poses to youth and to students in particular. I was inspired to do this through seeing my neighbors, through seeing my friends, through seeing different people in my community suffer from cancer, and seeing how this impacted and brought hardship onto their families. And so through these different initiatives and through these different workshops that we hold, we really do hope to create legislation and to promote stronger laws that ban ethylene oxide emissions near schools.
Ever since I was very young, I've worked for climate activism and to protect the rights, the land, and the future of my people alongside my family. And that really started my climate journey and as an activist, and that led me to doing small actions by myself, like using reusable things instead of plastic ones, and then community-wide action, where I started an organization to ban plastic bags in my community and got money to buy a machine that turns plastic to fuel for my school. But I felt very frustrated because it seemed like so much of the impacts we felt by climate change on our community didn't happen because of my community. It happened because of the actions of the Canadian government, and I felt powerless to change those. And that really motivated me to become a plaintiff in this lawsuit and to take action in every way I can, not just personally, not just as a community member, but also federally, and kind of taking action through multiple routes at the same time, because you can't give up in any facet of this work, which I think is a really important aspect of it.
So I actually got started a really, really long time ago, almost 10 years ago, actually. I was at the store once with my mom, and I saw animal puppets on the rack. I was like, what if I taught an animal science class? And she's like, dude, you're 10 years old. You can't, teach a science class, what? And I was like, well, what if I made coloring sheets and, some activity things, and I taught the kids? And she's like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I ended up teaching kindergarten students for an entire semester about animal science at our homeschool group. And doing that kind of opened my eyes to the world of education and why it is such an amazing thing. And also to how a lot of resources are not as accessible as they should be for kids. So I noticed how expensive a lot of children's books are. I noticed how expensive robotic kits were. And I also saw that a lot of the characters in children's books didn't represent the students that I was working with. And so I wanted to begin to change that. And that has kind of driven me since then to fight for the change that I want to see in the educational sector, especially through STEAM.
Firstly, it's completely changed the way that people interact in a courtroom, which kind of affected our trial, I think. And secondly, a very powerful part of this lawsuit comes from public support. And I feel during the pandemic, it's a lot easier to get that widespread public publicity and spreading knowledge about our work, because it is a lawsuit against the government, and the government, if we have enough people, the government has to listen, even if it might not work out in court. So that's kind of also a hope of our lawsuit. We're going to go down fighting no matter what the verdict is, even though we're very stubborn.
If the pandemic continues, it's definitely going to be a huge adjustment for my organization here at the STEAM Connection. I teach a lot of in-person classes. I'm always visiting schools and doing different in-person activities. Building robots virtually is a huge struggle, but luckily I've been implementing different things to help kind of circumvent that. So one of the things that I've been doing is something called a Make a Robot platform, where students can actually come and download resources to build their own robots. I've been starting to teach virtual classes, and I'm launching a new virtual robot that people can download the resources of to build their own robots at home. I'm trying to create resources that people can sustainably use from their own fingertips on a phone or a laptop and not have to be there in person with me, because even in terms of just expansion, things are going digital, pandemic or no pandemic. So I think it's a good decision for me to continue to move all my resources online so lots and lots of people can get involved.
So once the COVID-19 pandemic first came into play with our organization, we found that we had to adapt, and we adapted through using certain online platforms that promoted collaboration. Some of these including platforms such as GitHub, where we were able to share our code, and we found that through using this different technology, we were actually able to create more of an impact because we became better collaborators as a group. And we think it's really important to be able to adapt during situations so that we can continue to do our work, so that we can actually create change in our community and promote stronger legislation across the United States and eventually across the world.
So I would suggest, if you're interested in technical careers or scientific careers, to start learning about different careers and aspects of technical fields. So one of the things I'm going to suggest is to start looking up robots on YouTube. That is actually how I kind of fell down the rabbit hole and got interested in a lot of different things in robotics and technology that I had no idea existed. So even just looking at YouTube and learning from different influencers who are in engineering, who are in science, who are in things like coding, electrical engineering, can open up a huge door that you had maybe no idea existed. And I think that's really important before deciding what you want to do for a career or what you want to proceed with, is just learning more about it. And from there, you can start to maybe reach out to those influencers who are making those YouTube videos and asking for help, or even following them on Instagram and seeing what resources that they're promoting. You don't have to do everything in person. A lot of stuff you can do on your phone, you can do at a library computer if there is one, or even with your friends.
To all young girls who are interested in coding, I suggest for them to go online and look for different programs that are free in their surrounding areas. For example, I learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript from the Girls Who Code Summer Immersion program hosted by the Girls Who Code organization. And I also learned Swift, which is an iOS language, at the Code is Classy camp. And at these camps, I was surrounded with other girls who wanted to learn more about coding. And it was really the first opportunity that I got to learn the syntax, the basic syntax of these languages. So I really do suggest and recommend and encourage all of you guys to go online and look for programs similar to these in your areas to learn more about coding, because coding is a tool that we can use to spread awareness and to create change within our own communities.
Like, it's really important that you're in that fight, but also, like, it's not all on you, because sometimes it feels like that there's just so much pressure. Like, there's so many people you could go to. It's really important to find those people in that support system that you can go to when you're facing difficulties and challenges. And it's really important to just keep going and work harder when something doesn't work out, because this is just such a huge fight that we need to continue for future generations, for our communities. And yeah, it's important to keep that in mind, I would say.